I recently discovered that my husband had installed a tracking device in his sister's car. He's a mechanic, while he was fixing it for her. I found out about the tracking device when I heard him talking on the phone. He said his mom was on the phone and she knew about it, but I doubt it because she's close to my sister-in-law. And when he was talking on the phone, it didn't sound like he was talking to his mom. His tone was more formal than usual. I confronted him, and he refused to tell me what was happening or expand on the situation. His sister and I are close. I threatened him to tell her and her husband, but he lashed out, saying that this had nothing to do with me and that I was out of line to get myself involved. He told me it's complicated, that he couldn't say anything to me now and that I should keep my nose out of it. We argued and he started avoiding me, saying that there would be an issue if I went through with my threat. Am I the idiot for threatening to tell her? Should I back off? You are the idiot for not telling her already. Also, all your devices are probably tracked. If he does this to his sister, he likely does it to you as well. Tell her. It's probably illegal, and if you know and don't say anything, you may also get into trouble if it comes out. She's not the idiot. Then stop blaming people looking for help and apply the blame where it belongs, her husband. It's probably the sister-in-law's husband who wants her tracked, and that's who OP's husband was talking to. It's illegal for an ordinary person to install a tracking device in someone's car without their consent, and it can carry considerable criminal penalties. OP, your husband is the guilty party here, not whoever put him up to it. He could face considerable fines and even jail time. If you go through with your threat, there's an issue. Your husband will get a criminal record. My bigger concern is that your husband threatened you when you pushed him on it. This right here. If he's tracking her, he's tracking you. Dollars to Donuts' sister's husband asked OP's husband to put the tracker on her car because he thinks she's cheating. Regardless, it's wrong and disgusting. OP must tell sister-in-law immediately and begin to rethink this marriage. This is a horrible situation husband has put OP in, and frankly, one disturbing enough that I would be considering my relationship with him. I don't care if she might be cheating or whatever excuse they'll use. Cheating is disgusting too, but if they have to track her, they don't know if she actually is, and even cheaters have rights as humans. Not only would I tell the sister, but also probably law enforcement, as that's a blatant breach of her privacy. If he's also a licensed mechanic, he could face penalties. Go to a different mechanic and get your car checked. I bet there are many complicated reasons why your husband is tracking you as well. Agreed. You also need to make sure your own vehicle doesn't have a tracking device on it, which it probably does. Get your important papers in order and in a place your husband doesn't know, and prepare to leave. I'm not sure what he's up to, but it's not legal, and he's threatening you that there will be issues. Get yourself somewhere safe. This is not right or normal. My 35 female, last remaining grandmother passed away last month. That side of the family is Jewish, and it's customary to give inheritance to the grandkids in Jewish families. My sister, 27, is a single mom of 3, one with special needs. All have different dads. None are in the picture. One is in jail, another was a one-night stand in Vegas, and she doesn't even remember his first name, and the other's just an unemployed deadbeat. She's drowning in debt, mostly medical bills for her special needs child, and got fired from multiple jobs for always calling out due to her special needs child having some medical emergency. She's months behind on rent, but the landlord hasn't evicted her because he feels sorry for her. My husband, 42, and I are child-free by choice, and we do have a comfortable lifestyle, so we're going to use my portion of the inheritance for a down payment on a house. We live in an apartment, albeit a nice one, and to treat ourselves to a nice vacation in Europe. I've never been there, but dear husband has, and I've always wanted to go. My sister's portion of the inheritance will cover some of her debt. She wants to pay off the creditors first because they're threatening to take her to court while the landlord is showing more leniency. But my family is saying I should give her my share of the inheritance because that would cover almost all of her debt. She wasn't spending frivolously. It was mostly the mounting medical bills for my special needs nephew. And it's, quote, more important than a house because we're fine in our apartment and this is more urgent. I'm no prude or woman shamer. But the bottom line is my sister was reckless in having unprotected intimacy with multiple men and getting pregnant by 3 separate ones who, for various reasons, can't or don't help. And that's not my fault. I don't feel my husband and I should have to sacrifice our dream of being homeowners, which is incredibly hard to do these days, and having to sacrifice this vacation I've always wanted to go on. I was responsible and thought I made good choices, and I don't think I should have to suffer consequences for her poor decisions. Am I the idiot? Edit. When I told my family I'm not responsible for her reckless life choices, they agreed that she didn't make good decisions, but the children are innocent. I agree, but that's still not my fault nor my problem. I also reminded them that she could get pregnant again anytime because she's still young and she doesn't believe in protection. Even if I did give in, it would never be enough. Not the idiot. If you want to be both petty and generous, tell your family you'll match whatever money they give her. They probably won't provide any, or at least not much, because it's much easier to be generous on someone else's dime. So many people absolutely love volunteering other people's time or skills, but would never put up with that if someone asked them to do something. In concept, that offer of matching is good, but practically they could easily give her money. You match it, and then she gives them back what they gave her. Please don't do it. Follow your dreams. Your grandmother could have left more money for her or paid for things for your sister while she was alive. She didn't. She left money for both of you. If she has 3 kids and can't hold down a job, where's Medicaid? Why has she not applied for Section 8 housing? Heck, if her child's disability is particularly severe, they'll pay for her to be the caregiver of her own child. Keep your inheritance for you. Feel no guilt. You're never obligated to dig someone else out of their crap, even family. Yeah, I don't know about Jewish customs, but in my country, the children get a bigger part of the inheritance than the grandchildren. Tell those busybodies that unless they're willing to put action to words themselves and help her out, they need to shut up about you doing it. My wife and I have a baby girl. She's mostly a stay-at-home mom. She works 2 half-days a week, and her sister watches the baby. I work full-time and go to school 1 day a week. We've always had an arrangement where she takes care of the household duties, cooking, cleaning, and now baby care, while I happily support her monetarily. Honestly, we're both living our dream life, and my wife does a spectacular job of taking care of me and our little one. On the weekends, we share the baby duty. We usually make sure one of us gets alone time to do whatever we want. However, our girl has a bit of a sleep regression, waking up every 2 hours since my wife breastfeeds. She's always taking care of the baby full-time overnight. She's a light sleeper and unfortunately has insomnia, whereas I'm a deep sleeper and wouldn't wake up for baby cries anyways. Recently, my wife has been asking me to wake up with the baby both days on the weekends so she can get an extra hour of sleep. Baby wakes up around 7 a.m. I get the baby dressed and take over for that hour. But sometimes, I want to be the one that gets to sleep in an extra hour. I brought this up to her, and she says while she's happy to let me nap during the day, she really needs that hour because she can't nap as I can. We got into an argument about it, and she says I'm being very insensitive when I know she's exhausted and can't nap during the day, and she struggles going back to sleep every time the baby wakes up. But I'm exhausted too. Work wears me out and school days are long, and I sometimes want the hour in the morning. I don't want to spend my off time napping. I want to play video games and chill out. I've gotten mixed opinions on who's in the wrong or if anyone's in the wrong. Am I the idiot for asking us to share mornings off for sleep? You are the idiot. If she's taking all the night duty because you don't wake up, then you get the morning duty when you do wake up so that she can catch up on her lost sleep in the night. If you want a morning off, give her a night off. I'm never certain why people choose to have kids and then complain about how hard it is. Yeah, like, duh, being a parent is hard, but this is what you asked for. Once you choose to bring a life into this world, that child becomes your world. But video games? Nope, you are the idiot, OP. You can't have both nights and mornings, and your video game time might just have to suffer for a while. RIP, OP. She works part-time, takes care of the baby, does all the housework, does all the night feedings, can't sleep, but sure, you'd like an hour. So you're out of the house all week, and you do what? Spend 1 hour a day helping to take care of your kid? And you like more time to play games? You have no idea what her day looks like, do you? Take 3 days off and send her on a mini vacay to sleep somewhere and see all the stuff that she does daily on repeat. Not only is she working, but she's enabling OP to work by providing childcare for their joint child, which he would otherwise have to pay for. But no, he supports her monetarily. She's supporting you, idiot. If you, OP, didn't want to make sacrifices personally, physically, financially, emotionally, and mentally, then you should not have had a child. I hope you get a grip on this and sort out your priorities so that this baby has a healthy 18 years living with you. My wife, Maddie, and I have been together for 5 years. I have a daughter, Rachel, young teen, and son, Mitch, tween, from my previous relationship, and a stepdaughter, Talia, same age as Rachel. We've always had separate finances and originally had similar paying jobs. While hers has definitely become better than mine, we've stayed as we are, aside from shared expenses being split more equally. Around 7 months ago, we found out that Rachel is terminally sick. I've been doing everything I can for her, trying to help her and getting the best treatment I can afford. But the issue is I can't. I'm draining my savings and can barely afford more basic treatment. I can pay for necessities and treatment, but nothing else. Maddie has been financially fine throughout. She's paying more for the necessities, but she's constantly buying Talia things, taking her out, and letting her do things that I can't do for either of my children. I know we agreed to have separate finances, and it's not wrong per se, but it's definitely been causing some conflict, though I've tried hard to work it out. I know that it's my responsibility, but it's just not working well. I can't afford extracurriculars or for them to go out with friends or special dinners or anything. Rachel's birthday is coming up, and I want to do something nice while we can. This is likely her last birthday, which is why I want it to be a really good one. I asked Maddie for help if she could cover her birthday because I couldn't, but Maddie refused. She's paying for almost all the essentials and doesn't think she should have to pay for this. She knows I can't pay her back, and it's my responsibility. I understand all that, but it's not fair. I'm not asking for my own sake. Rachel and Mitch are already missing so much, and I know how horrible Rachel feels. I just want this one good special night for her. Also, Maddie currently earns 2.5 times as much as me. She doesn't have medical expenses, obviously, and pays 80% of the necessities. My ex has passed away and always refused to pay child support even when she was alive. Am I the idiot for asking my wife to pay for my daughter's birthday when we have separate finances and I will not be able to pay her back realistically? No idiots here. You're not an idiot for asking. She's not an idiot for sticking to your original arrangement. Plus, you said she's paying for all the essentials, so it sounds like she's already contributing to shared expenses. Guilt-tripping her would make you an idiot. That being said, I'm curious about your relationships with each other's stepkids. There's a difference between separate finances and separate families. Your wife has known Rachel for 5+ years. Do they not have a connection at this point? There's a difference between her saying you're responsible for medical bills and not being willing to help with her last birthday. The wife sounds heartless. Rachel is terminally ill. This is her parents' child. Refusing to buy her terminally ill stepchild a birthday present? How? In what universe does that not make someone the biggest idiot in existence? You say we don't share money, so screw your dying kid? Really? The wife is a nasty piece of work for denying this, especially while constantly treating her own daughter. This is not a normal situation, and it's really disgusting that she has so little regard for her dying teenage stepdaughter. If their entire marriage is transactional, why the heck stay married? What is the value of this relationship? To be honest, OP should be on the way out of the relationship after he sorts himself out emotionally, because I can't see any relationship surviving this kind of coldness. Your wife is paying 80% of the essentials, and she makes 2.5 times more than you. Very precise. You also freely admit that you can't or won't pay her back. I just really feel like there's more to the story. I have a feeling your wife is saying no because otherwise you will drain her accounts the way you've drained your own. And I don't think it's out of greed, just carelessness. I'm not going to call a father with a sick child an idiot, but I'm also not going to call a woman with a child an idiot either for prioritizing her financial security and her own child. I'm sorry your daughter's sick, but if you are as careless as you appear, I don't blame your wife for saying no. She also has to look out for herself and her daughter, like you have to look out for your kids. How the heck is spending money on medical costs for a sick and now terminal child careless? He didn't go out and run up his credit cards on crap he couldn't afford, and the idiot wife can constantly treat her own perfectly healthy daughter and shower money on her. Still, she won't do anything for her dying stepdaughter, who's already lost her mother and her emotionally suffering husband. Why do people in marriages with mixed families not consider their stepchildren their children? This isn't a partnership. I'd do this for a friend, let alone my husband and his sick child. I think our true colors are showing, and they're ugly. My girlfriend is super into hiking, and we planned a trip to Cali that involved a hike in the Grand Canyon she always wanted to do. We did a hike the day before that was too intense for me, and I'm not as fit as her. I finished, but I couldn't go to the other hike, aka her dream hike. It's also not meant to be done in one day, and the ranger said it was hard to do in one day and not advised. She said she was confident she could do it, saying she had hiked harder and she was very fit. But I just felt like she was discounting what the ranger said. I said I wasn't going, and she said she would go alone, and I asked her to wait till tomorrow for me to recover. She said the weather report had a 30% chance of rain for tomorrow, and that she wasn't going to give up on a bucket list hike. And if I still wanted to do it tomorrow, she'd do it again with me. I got mad because I felt she was okay with abandoning me with nothing to do at the campsite, and I didn't want to talk to her that evening. She didn't seem to care and prepped for her hike. She finished it the next day, and I felt like she didn't care that I was too tired to hike and chose to go without me. To me, the people are more important than the activities, but to her, she wanted to finish the hike at all cost. You went on a trip to go on this specific hike, and only the day before realized you're not fit enough to go on said hike, and you expected her to abandon her dream now that it was right there in front of her. You are the idiot. Right? He should have looked up the map, its length, and how strenuous it was before even thinking of going on the trip. He also could have listened to his girlfriend one of the times she was talking about her dream hike. I doubt she left out those details. I thought maybe he was concerned about her hiking alone for safety reasons, but he's just cranky that she's not there to entertain him. Screw that noise. OP's been training all right, training for the Winter Olympics. Dude, I hate the outside, but if my husband had a hike he wanted to do with me, I would train like a lunatic for that, because I love him? And then he's trying to frame it as people are more important than activities. She went for one day. It was just one day that he was without her. And to him, that's abandoning him? Jesus, I'm afraid of what'll happen if she wants to have a spa weekend alone or an evening out with her girlfriends. Abandonment? How dare she? She needs to stay home to keep him company at all times. Passion? A hobby? Sure, if he's also there. If not, forget it. That's just controlling BS. She sounds like a really interesting person. On the other hand, you come across as a whiny, needy bore. Do better. My best friend, Alex 32 male, and I 32 male, have been friends since diapers. We're basically family. After college, we both moved back home to live at home and get our feet underneath us. Alex started dating Stella, 35, a lovely girl, around 4.5 years ago. And from the get-go, she seemed to politely dislike me. I don't know why. Oh well, c'est la vie. Alex and Stella moved across the country in 2021 after Stella earned a promotion at work. In 2022, Alex proposed. She said yes, and they set a wedding date for the end of September 2023. I got a save the date card at the beginning of the year. Based on my conversations with Alex, I assumed I would be in the wedding party, either as a groomsman or the best man. Still, I never received any official confirmation from either of them. A couple months before the wedding, I saw that invitations had gone out on social media and figured mine was en route. It never came. I waited a couple of weeks and figured it might have gotten lost in the mail before I checked in with him. I called Alex and had a brief conversation with him where he was clearly agitated and said he was dealing with a lot, would be incommunicado for the near future to direct any wedding-related questions to Stella, and he'd call me when things cooled off. I called, texted, and emailed Stella several times over the course of a week, but she didn't respond to any of them. At this point, I decided I wouldn't be attending the wedding, and things were messed up between us. Yesterday, a little over 3 weeks after our last conversation, Alex DM'd me, asking if I was free to chat. I jumped at the opportunity to get some answers. After exchanging pleasantries, Alex jumped right into a spiel, saying that he knew I was super busy with work and dealing with a lot of personal stuff. Still, he'd love it if I could attend his wedding, even as just a guest, and he wanted to know if he could do anything to help make that happen. I just blurted out that I'd love to, but hadn't received an invitation. Alex stared blankly at me and said, "What?" I just kind of verbally vomited out that I hadn't received an invitation. That was the reason I called him a few weeks ago, that I'd contacted Stella about it, but she never got back to me and left me on red, and that I had no idea what he was talking about, me dealing with too many things to be involved in the wedding. After a very pregnant pause, he said he needed to sort things out, and he'd call me when he was done. My phone has been blowing up since, with wedding attendees asking me what the heck happened and why the wedding might be off now. My girlfriend has reaffirmed to me that I did nothing wrong, but I've had people from all sides saying I stuck my nose where it didn't belong and caused a stink, which is really messing with my head. It was mostly extended family calling, and Alex's immediate family was just confused. Am I the idiot for telling my best friend why I wasn't attending his wedding? This mix-up wasn't an honest mistake. Look at what he said. Those are the words of someone that's been lied to and sold a bill of goods about your attending the wedding. And what's this about Alex being in the process of inviting you? The bride and groom make the guest list together, send out invitations, and see how many can come. That's it. In your case, Alex wanted to invite you, but Stella said, "Oh, he's not sure he can come. He's swamped with work," etc., etc., when in reality, you weren't even invited. If everything's been blown up, it's because Alex discovered the truth about Stella, what she did, and what she's really like. And people saying you stuck your nose where it didn't belong are just trying to cover for Stella. Not your fault, not the idiot. It also sounds like Alex had wanted him to be there as more than a guest, and because of Stella's lies, that didn't happen. The fact that the entire wedding might be called off makes me think Alex just put the pieces together that Stella may have done this to more than one of his friends, and that's why he sounded so desperate when he reached out to OP, having no idea why so many of his other friends were too busy to attend his wedding. He also moved cross-country after his promotion. Can you imagine him going through the RSVPs and seeing gaps where his friends and family should be? How many of his family and friends got the save-the-dates but no invite? This is a real red flag if she lies to him about who can come to their wedding. I will guarantee you that Stella lied to him. The wedding is off because he caught her in her lie. My parents are divorced. Together they have my brother, 20, my sister, 19, and me, nearly adult, male. Their marriage ended because my mom had 2 affairs. The first one came out when the second one did, because both were happening at the same time, and my mom got pregnant with the baby who's now a female tween. Dad ended the marriage, and Mom tried to make him responsible for her baby with another guy. She and Dad were married, so he was the assumed dad, and he had to go to court. There was a 2-year battle over this because he wanted nothing to do with the baby, and Mom didn't want her to grow up watching my older siblings. I have a dad. While both her affair partners went AWOL, and were refusing to play any role in her life and said no to doing DNA tests. Dad won in court and was removed from my half-sister's birth certificate. He's never met her and is ensured there's no contact between them. 5 years ago, Mom got very sick and was in the hospital for 3 months. My half-sister spent that time in foster care because our parents were told they were too sick, multiple chronic health issues between them, to take care of her when they had no idea how long my mom would be out of commission. They asked Dad to step up, but he said no. They tried to plead with my siblings and me to talk him around, but none of us wanted him to take her either. When my mom got out and got my half-sister back, she and my grandparents had a deep grudge against my dad. We already didn't think much of Mom, but after that, we asked Dad to try and get full custody of us. But when we were interviewed, we mentioned the affair, and we were asked whether Dad tried to turn us against Mom, and we decided to keep 50-50 to not get him into trouble. I'm months away from getting away from my mom. My siblings already are. Mom had people over recently, and my grandparents were there. They were talking badly about my dad, saying he was evil and that he left his own daughter to rot in foster care. And I told them she wasn't his daughter, and DNA proved that. They backtracked and said he left his kid's sister to rot. I said she has nothing to do with him. Then I called them out for being idiots to him when Mom cheated on him with 2 guys and fought to make him responsible for her child. I said they all blamed Dad instead of wondering why nobody was willing to take my half-sister when needed, and none of them could. Others heard the whole thing. My mom and grandparents said I was an idiot. Am I? Not the idiot. You didn't say anything that wasn't true. The truth hurts. That's probably why they were so upset, because they knew you were right. Speaking out isn't even a fraction of the horrible stuff your mother tried to pull on your father. The good news is, in a year, you won't have to deal with them anymore. But wow, your poor little sister. I feel so sorry for her. It's heartbreaking that nearly everyone in this child's life has rejected her, all because of how she was conceived. It's a shame for the half-sister, though, having to be in foster care, but to blame your father rather than the deadbeats and trying to manipulate you guys into talking him into taking her was truly an idiot move on the grandparents' part. Yeah, it's devastating for the poor kid, but utterly shameful that the people who should be working hardest to protect and support her are concentrating on ripping down someone with no obligation to protect and support her instead. OP, you are very brave, and you sound like quite a moral person. I wish you all the best in life. Keep your integrity, and may the coming years be more peaceful. I just got a job offer in a different state. My husband works in a fly-in, fly-out camp, so it won't affect his work. However, my new job adds nearly $30,000 a year more to our budget. My in-laws live in a different state already and make an effort to see our kids. However, we currently live 8 blocks from my parents, and they're losing it. They say I'm a horrible son for moving their grandchildren away from them, and they have grandparents' rights and all that. I told them I would be willing to change my family's plans so long as they made up the difference between what I currently earn and my new job. I was even willing to go net. I wasn't asking them for my gross earnings, just the after-tax difference. They said expecting them to pay to see their grandchildren was ridiculous. I asked them if they thought my in-laws didn't pay for their flights when they visited. They said that that's different. I don't think it is. Just because my parents can walk to my house, they think that seeing the kids isn't an effort for everyone else. My siblings have called me to say I'm an idiot for demanding money from our parents to see the children. I offered to let them pay me the money I'd be losing if I didn't take the new job. Then they figured out my parents didn't tell them the entire story. Now there's a big family fight because one has a job that may require him to move, and my brother will likely move after he completes his post-grad. I don't actually want my parents' money. I want them to understand the money that they're asking me to give up. Not the idiot. And grandparents' rights are not a thing, except in extreme situations. If a child is left orphaned and grandparents have a right to seek custody, they're free to come visit you whenever. I'm assuming. And if they care that much, why don't they move to your new town? I get that you're not actually asking them for the money, but making them realize you can't give up this job opportunity just so they can live close. Also, the fact that they threatened the grandparents' rights crap makes them huge idiots. If they're willing to threaten to take children away from their parents simply because they don't get their way, then they shouldn't have access to those kids. It's not the 1950s anymore, and we don't have grandparents and parents and kids living in the same household or town anymore. With the modern economy, the nuclear family is now the norm and not the exception. You have a fantastic opportunity for a new job with much better pay. The only people who can make the decision on whether or not to pursue that opportunity are you and your spouse. If they can't understand that, they're selfishly expecting you to tailor your lives around them instead of doing what's best for you and your children. My daughter, Ella, 26, is a doctor. She works very hard and is very talented. She spent most of her life with her mother, but took up a position at a hospital near me and so moved in with me. She doesn't own a car currently, but I've insured her to drive mine so she can use it to get to work. Ella worked many continuous 12-hour shifts and finally got a day off today. She's exhausted, but had an errand to run. She ordered a new pair of designer trainers, but neither of us was home when they arrived, and so they were left at a delivery center nearby for her to collect. There's a bus stop about a 5-minute walk from my place, and the bus stops outside the delivery center. It's about a 20-minute journey. Ella asked if she could borrow the car to pick up the shoes. I said no. I only use the car to get to work if I have to carry many things. I don't use the car anywhere within walking distance or a short journey on public transport. Ella got upset and argued that she's too tired and on her feet all day for several days. She said she's not the sort of person who uses public transport. Her mother and their family are extremely well off. Ella went to a very prestigious private school. Unfortunately, they also have certain attitudes towards people not as fortunate, one of which is that public transport is used by unsuccessful people. When she talked about not being the sort of person who uses it, I said that she needs to get that snobby private school attitude out of her head if she wants to get anywhere in life. She swore at me and stormed off, but did go on the bus to get the shoes. While she was gone, Ella's mother called me shouting at me for making our daughter's life difficult and accusing me of trying to hold her back, etc. She said I should show that I care, that she's worked so hard at the hospital. I accept that I shouldn't have said that private school comment, but Ella isn't so tired she can't brave a 5-minute walk to the bus stop. I don't want her to be reliant on the car when there are other ways to get where she needs to go. Am I the idiot? She needs to get that snobby private school attitude out of her head if she wants to get anywhere in life. She's a doctor, you moron. She's already gotten somewhere in life. Her attitude towards people who take public transportation might suck, but she's an adult who can take responsibility for her own actions. If her attitude comes back to bite her later on, that's her problem, not yours. She asked for the car because, as an adult who makes adult decisions, she chose to drive to pick up her package after a long day at work. You're treating her like a spoiled teenager who needs to be put in her place. You are the idiot. She's a doctor who has a condescending attitude about other people. She's certainly gotten somewhere in life where that attitude can have terrible outcomes for people left in her care. And as an adult who makes adult decisions, she can get her own car if she wants to drive to get that package. Being an adult who makes adult decisions doesn't mean the car isn't OP's and he doesn't get to choose when it's used. Oh, and this lady called her mom because her dad wouldn't let her use the car? She's not a doctor. She's a child. OP's not the idiot. I disagree. She called her mom because her mom knows what an idiot her dad is and is the right person to commiserate with. No matter how snobbish Ellie's comments sounded, a doctor who works multiple 12-hour shifts, helping people, deserves some comfort on her rare day off. Public transport is uncomfortable. It takes time to walk there, to wait for it, depending on the timetable, and then do it again on the way back. Strangers on the bus can be loud, rude, smelly, make inappropriate comments, or try to touch you. Nothing would have happened to your precious car should you allow your daughter, a hardworking medical professional, to take a short ride on her day off. I'm a surgical fellow, kind of like a resident, and I work 7 a.m. to whenever, sometimes earlier, like 4 p.m., sometimes later, like 7 p.m., but usually home between 5 and 7 p.m. She isn't working right now, and she's just studying for her exam. I personally think to an excessive amount. She's a type A, and I'm worried she'll fail when she's never failed an exam in her life. Our young toddler daughter attends daycare from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have an au pair to help out. Hours are set at my wife's discretion because I'm not the one responsible for the kid right now. So since she's not working, she's been doing all the chores. When I get home, I just want to rest, and I figured she had all day with plenty of time off and hired help. She could help manage the household chores. She can't work for a few more weeks or months, unknown exactly when, due to licensing issues. She's threatened to move back and take our baby. There are some issues because I work every day, and that would mean I would rarely get to see either of them. And I signed a lease for 3 adults in 3 bedrooms, which is more than my salary. Am I the idiot for making my unemployed wife do the chores and childcare? Edit. We're both residents. Her exam is a board exam for medicine, so it's one giant cumulative exam covering 4 years of medical school and 4 years of residency. She had to give up her $400K job and then some bonus to move, so being unemployed is due to my career move. She's contributing more than 50% to the family expenses and uses her savings. She pays for the daycare and the au pair, and she has way more money than me. She said she's tired of being my mom and my servant. Because I'm not the one responsible for the kid right now? Sure, man, when's it gonna be? After college? She gave up her lucrative job to move with you to yours, pays for all the childcare, does chores, financially contributes to the household, and is studying for a major exam. So everything is taken care of, and you dare to call her unemployed? Like she's a slacker? JFC, you are the idiot, OP. You need to grovel so much. Your relationship is about to end otherwise. You are the idiot, especially at how blasé you are with all the sacrifices she's made for you. You intentionally used her unemployment status as an excuse to contribute nothing to childcare or housework. Still, you left the fact that she pays 50% of the household expenses until the end. This means her studies are her job, and she contributes equally. So why do you feel entitled to a free pass? You sound insufferable. So exactly what are you, dude, contributing to the relationship? If she left you, she could make $400K, pay for the daycare and au pair easily and add a salary instead of savings, and have fewer chores to do. If the only benefit of being with you is that she loves you, at least be worthy of that love by helping with your own child. The way Adele's Divorce Babe Divorce immediately played in my mind reading this crap. LMFAO. I'll keep this short. My daughter, who's 19, told me she was going to college to major in computer science. I was ecstatic about this because she's been set on majoring in illustration. For years, I've been trying to talk her out of it. I know she loves illustration, but it is extremely hard to get a steady job. I wanted her to do something she could be successful in. I wanted her to have a broader range of opportunities. As it turns out, she lied to me. She's majoring in illustration. She got some mail about some art exhibition at her school. At first, I thought nothing of it because I knew she was a computer science major. But after looking into it a bit more, I found out her work was chosen to be displayed in the exhibition. I was furious. I've spent tens of thousands of hard-earned money on computer science. That's what we agreed on. I told her she could do what she wanted, but I will not support her. She can pay for it herself or get her mother to pay. Or she can begin to pay me back for the money she stole from me, interest-free. My wife said I'm being unreasonable, that she's only 19, and asking her to pay for her own tuition is asking too much of her. I didn't think it was, as I agreed to pay for her to study computer science, nothing else. I was also giving her a chance to do what she did right. I was deceived, and my money was going towards something I had no say in. Now my wife and daughter are upset with me. I'm starting to reflect and think maybe I could have been nicer about the situation. Am I the idiot for telling my daughter I wouldn't pay for her college tuition? She's 19 and doesn't have a job. How dare you create such great art that it's being displayed in an exhibition? My heart breaks for this talented young woman whose father is so thoroughly hostile to her gifts. No doubt it would mean the world to her to have parents who are proud of her, but instead she gets anger from OP. She's already shutting them out of her life, and OP can't see it for what it is. He will lose her, and he will blame everyone but himself for her distance. You are the idiot. My dad did the same thing to me. Guess what? We don't talk anymore. Trying to control your daughter is a surefire way of losing her. Her work is being displayed in an exhibition. If it were my daughter, I would be sure to have front row seats. If you keep this up, you're going to lose your daughter. Apologize and start listening to what she wants, what her hopes and dreams are, then become her biggest cheerleader. Literally, he wants her to do computer science because it's easier to be successful. But she's facing success right now in illustration, and he's mad. He is genuinely okay with her sacrificing her own happiness for him. What a horrible father. Would he rather her not go to school? Would he rather her live a life she hates? I will never understand this logic. He is selfish, and his love for his daughter clearly isn't unconditional. Her work is being displayed at an exhibition. Do you know how big that is? It means not only is she pursuing her passion, but she's also good at it. Let her self-actualize, and don't offer to pay for the wedding, only if you choose a different groom, dude. This is heartbreaking, and I hope this post opens your eyes a bit. My friend got an engineering degree, handed her dad the diploma, then re-enrolled to teach elementary school. Such a flex. You effed up, bud. You have a very, very slim window to make this right. And I suggest you take it, because if you don't, she's gone. I have a coworker who's a hobby baker and often brings her finished products into the office to share with everyone. This would be perfectly fine occasionally, but it's nearly every day and was getting a bit excessive. I don't want to be tempted by sweets every day, and it's unhealthy and upsetting to see my coworkers being led into unhealthy lifestyles by the sheer convenience of the sweets. They surely wouldn't be eating as many cakes, etc., if they weren't brought in each day. I was sure, and honestly still am, that others feel the same way but did not have the willpower to speak up. So last week I mentioned to my coworker that it was nice they wanted to share with us, but perhaps they should just choose their best creation once a week and bring that in rather than bombarding us with sugar and fat every day, since it will take a toll on people's health in the long term. She assumed I was speaking on behalf of my coworkers. In a way I was, which is where I might have messed up and stopped bringing in sweets. But later, a few asked her why she'd stopped baking, and now my coworkers are upset that I asked her to stop bringing things in. They said if I didn't want to partake in her snacks, that was my prerogative, but that it was uncalled for me to speak on behalf of everybody or to tell our baking coworker what to do or suggest she was having a negative impact by sharing. Apparently her feelings were hurt for whatever reason, though I hadn't said anything personal. I still feel bad about it though, as it was not the intention. I feel I was just speaking my mind and looking out for everyone's best interest, but I like and respect my coworkers for the most part, so I'm worried they have a point about how I went about what I did, even if my intention was right. So am I the idiot for telling my coworker she shouldn't bring in cakes every day? Or was I the only one who would speak up for everyone's best interest? You are the idiot. Oh, yes, you are the idiot. You can't just assign opinions to your coworkers, nor speak on their behalf. You're not an elected representative, and no one asked you to do this. Mind your business. You are the idiot big time. You were trying to eliminate temptation because apparently you lack self-control. It is nobody else's responsibility to handle your temptations. So develop some willpower and stop trying to manage everyone else. You're clearly trying to delude yourself that it's all for the greater good, but no, you're being completely selfish. And even if you believe that your coworkers are being led down an unhealthy lifestyle and don't have the willpower to speak up, they can decide whether they eat the dessert. It's not your decision to make for them. You unanimously decided to speak up for others, but didn't consider other people's feelings towards the matter. Also, if I were your coworker, I'd be hurt too if I was told that the sweets I made are taking a toll on people's health. So I'm 27 female, been close friends with Tara, 26 female, for about 8 years now. Early on, we made plans to move in together. She shared a 2-bedroom with her boyfriend at the time. They had broken up, and the plan was for him to move out, and I'd move into her 2nd bedroom. She texted me 3 weeks before moving in that they had worked things out and no longer wanted me to move in with her. I was angry because I had already given notice to my apartment and had to move in with my parents. She apologized profusely and had always been a good friend, so I forgave her. 3 months later, they broke up for good, and he moved out, leaving her struggling to pay bills for the 9 months left on the lease. She moved back in with her parents after that, in financial ruin, as she put it. Years later, this past summer, we moved in together. I was hesitant initially, but she did all the work finding a place and paying deposits. It was awesome living with my BFF, and we had a great time until last month. She had a friend with benefits situation with a guy at her work for almost a year. Finally, she sat me down and told me that they were making things official and wanted to move in together. So she wanted me to move out when his lease was up in 5 months so he could move in with her. I was livid. I blew up at her. I called her a crappy and selfish friend and told her I would never forgive her for jerking me around like this again. The argument ended with both of us in tears. That weekend, while she was staying at her boyfriend's, I packed all my crap and moved out. I happened to know someone with a nice 3-bedroom house for rent. It was actually an excellent deal that I'd only passed up because I moved in with her, and I lucked out that it was still available. She's been texting me ever since about how I'm screwing her over just like her ex did, that I overreacted, and that she can't afford the place by herself. Honestly, I consider our friendship over at this point, but now that I've calmed down, I'm wondering if I may be the idiot. Edit for clarification, my name wasn't on the lease. She handled the paperwork. I didn't want to throw speculation into my post, but I 100% believe she did that on purpose. Not the idiot. Your friend's history suggests that if her boyfriend's lease were up in 5 weeks rather than 5 months, she would have still asked you to leave. It's all about her and what she wants. You're disposable to her, and it doesn't matter to her how much she inconveniences you, as long as she gets her way. I don't think she's owed any consideration in return. You found a good living situation, which is no small thing in this market. Why should you stick around, living with someone who has no respect for you? Putting aside all your history, I would say that since she asked you to move out, and she has to expect that you'll look for a new place and take the best deal you can find. This deal came up now. You were lucky it was still available, so you took it. If she didn't want you to move out, she shouldn't have asked you to, period. It's unfair to tell anyone, I need you to move out in 5 months, but if you find a great deal before that, I need you to pass it up and stay here to keep paying me rent. There's a reason she did all the legwork and had the apartment in her name. This was that reason. She wanted the ability to boot you out if her relationship situation changed in the future. Having everything in her name and not asking you to put your name on the lease gave her the ability to do that. Yeah, it sucks that you're bailing on her, but only having the apartment in her name so she could kick you out whenever cuts both ways. It's not your fault she can't afford the apartment that she leased in her name only. I'm male 46, have 2 little sons with my ex. I got engaged to my fiance, female 22, recently. She loves my sons and has a fantastic relationship with them. My sons also love her. However, she's made it clear that she doesn't want to be a parent to my sons or babysit them, which is okay because they already have 2 parents. My ex and I are co-workers and both have a job that requires us to be away from home a lot. Last weekend, we both had to go to another city. None of our usual babysitters or family members were available. As a last option, I called my fiance and asked her if she could babysit my sons for the weekend, and she agreed since there was no other choice, but said she was still not going to act like a parent, which was okay with us. My ex's parents called the day after we left and said that they could have the boys now. I called my sons to tell them, but they begged me to let them stay with my fiance. I talked to her to see if she was okay with it, and she said yes, so I told my sons they could stay with her. We went back home and everything seemed okay. My sons claimed they had the best weekend ever, and my fiance said they didn't bother her. Sure, they ate junk food all weekend, didn't do any homework, stayed up late, and other things like that. But it was just a weekend, so I thought it was no big deal. Yesterday, I started getting calls from my ex-in-laws, calling me an idiot for leaving my sons with someone so young and irresponsible when I could have left them with them. My sons have told them about their fun weekend, and they were very angry. They even somehow found my fiance's number and texted her, calling her different names. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. I'm not even going to touch the fact that your new fiance is literally less than half your age and has no experience under her belt yet. If she is your fiance, she will be an adult figure for your kids. What kind of person dates someone with kids and openly says, I'm never going to parent them? I'll tell you who. People who shouldn't date parents. And who should single parents date? I'll tell you, not people who refuse to have anything to do with your kids and have to be asked to babysit as a last resort. Holy cow, you're more interested in this whirlwind romance with a girl who's more interested in her youthful freedom and financial stability than your children. You're looking like a bad father here, like really bad. Midlife crisis much? Kind of yuck. They're engaged and she's 22. He was chasing her when she was younger. At best, she's indifferent to the kids, and at worst, she's neglectful. Why you would want to marry someone young enough to be your child is beyond me, and why she would like to marry someone with kids if she doesn't want to be involved is also confusing. I hope you enjoy your 3 kids. OMG, they had 1 weekend of no homework and junk food. Someone called the cops. The in-laws are just mad they didn't get their way. She sounds like a fun auntie, if anything. It's not that serious. I'm sure Granny and Grandpa sneaked them extra sweets and let them get away with stupid stuff, as grandparents should. Other than her not feeding them vegetables and not doing homework, what exactly did she do wrong this weekend? The in-laws started engaging in idiot behavior when they texted OP's fiance with insults. That most likely was not specifically related to this weekend, but their hostility with OP as a person and the ex. OP, their hostility to you is probably well earned since you're a 46-year-old man engaged to someone who could be your daughter. So you are a major idiot just for being in this relationship and what it indicates about how you view women. It is ridiculous that I even have to ask this question, but since everyone in my family is triggered by me, my trust in my decisions is eroding, and I need judgment. I, 34 female, have a sister, 29, who's been battling infertility issues for the past 5 years. Since I'm not married and don't plan to have children, my parents are desperately looking to have a grandchild and are doing everything they can to support my sister. Some of her previous failed pregnancies were high risk, and she had to quit most of her jobs halfway after getting pregnant. And her husband makes just enough to support the both of them. So, to help them financially, my parents and one of my paternal aunts set up a small fund to support the IVF procedures. The thing is, at first, everyone was motivated, and since we had at least 25 people from the community and family who chipped in every Christmas, it was okay, and the burden didn't just fall on me. Although since the start, I was pressured into contributing the most. Over the years, many people have dropped out, and now it's just 7 of us, including me, my retired parents, and other retired aunts and uncles who don't even have a fourth of the amount to donate. Since then, it's been nothing but pressure to donate from my side. I've stood my ground and said no, and everyone keeps guilt-tripping me. My sister keeps taking loans after loans, and I don't know, but the anger and stress are being projected onto me. However, I decided that this time around, I no longer want to contribute as much. Mind you, I used to contribute upwards of $7,000 every year. Finally, after years of feeling used for money and being a doormat, I got enough and made my stand. I instead decided to start and invest in a small baking side hustle with my friend, which I kept hushed for a while till we publicized our social media account. My sister found out and made a scene, complaining to my parents, saying that I was cruel and greedy with my money, when all this while I was the one contributing the most out of any of them. This baking side hustle has been a dream of mine since young, and never mind the fact that they didn't want to support me because my sister's IVF issues overshadowed everything, but they kept belittling my passion and efforts. Sis says that baking aspirations can be halted and continued, but she only has limited time left. LMAO. Am I the idiot here? Please tell me I'm not going crazy. Obviously, whatever she says, I'm sticking to my baking business. Plus, it is cooperated with my friend, so I can't just quit the side hustle on a whim. Not the idiot. $7,000 a year? That's insanely generous, but I don't blame you for wanting to stop. It's messed up of her to expect you to spend $7,000 a year so she can try to have a baby. Let them be mad at you. This is literally not your responsibility. Having been through a few rounds of IVF myself, they say if you're not pregnant after 3 rounds, it's very unlikely to work for you. So it's easy for her to keep on wasting money that's not hers. Sad, but she needs to look at other options now. Honestly, at this point, I wonder if she would even pass the mental health screening process on adopting. Her obsession with having a child to the point that she's melting down because her sister doesn't want to pay for it is very concerning. Unfortunately, it also seems that everyone in the family has been enabling this behavior. Also, if the husband only makes enough to support the two of them and she isn't working, there would be financial difficulties in adopting, even if she passed the screening process. OP's best bet is to go low or no contact until sanity prevails in this family. OP, no one is responsible for someone else's lack of anything. Add up the total amount you've donated to her IVF and issues, and that's the total you've already helped above and beyond what you had. Family doesn't change a thing. Individuals are responsible for themselves, no more, no less. Make yourself the priority. It's very overdue.